went to this trial. I watched the white people. I watched the non-black POCs all say they were scared of Jordan. But the black man testified that he was not. So we got a problem. So all the white people here, y'all got work to do. Stay the out of black people business. Go in your neighborhood and do the anti-blackness work in there.
Well, it was 4 people of color. That's known typically as...
I was there during jury selection.
Whether it was
black women were shut out for having unconventional hair, but there were 9 white jurors.
Sorry, is that what they said? They said it was for unconventional hair, or you're just presuming that? That's made up.
No, it's not.
Who said?
What's going on, guys? So I got to give my 2 cents on the Daniel Penny case. So I've been intentionally holding off on talking about this topic for a number of reasons. I'll just go ahead and give my opinion now. I think Daniel Penny is an innocent man. I think the details of that were pretty obvious from the beginning. There wasn't even a whole lot of gaslighting and obfuscation from the fake news, which you would expect certainly something different considering how they got so much stuff wrong with the Rittenhouse case. But here is just so obvious. I mean, you got black people holding the guy down and the white person happens to do the headlock, and all of a sudden it's the end of the freaking world. They act like it's a shooting, a stabbing, and like it was race related. Some people called it a modern day lynching. I mean, it's been some of the stupidest stuff ever. So honestly, sometimes I don't even want to talk about this topic, even though part of this channel is kind of geared toward that. Again, Black Anomaly Rising is what it's called. So it's supposed to be intentionally, the goal is to elevate a lot of black folks out of stupid, dumb mentalities and thinking emotionally. And anybody who's along for the ride and enjoys the show here is more than welcome. But it's just so many foolish people out here talking about doing riots and all this stupid stuff. I just really didn't feel like it was even worth my time even to get involved in it, even though this is basically a news channel. But, you know, there's so many stories I could cover. I felt personally more intrigued by some of the other stories. However, it's definitely important to point out some of these woke activists, which is what we're going to do today, because this BLM leader, Chivona Newsome, out in New York, okay, there's a lot of these BLM leaders, you know, the people who steal the money and send it over to transgender communities. Yeah, those people. So we got another BLM leader. I mean, there's a lot of different sects of people, so they're not all the same, but a lot of them don't do anything to support the community that they say that they support. This BLM leader is having a conversation with Dan Abrams of NewsNation, and he basically destroys her. He nukes her. And I felt like this was a good conversation for me to react to and get some of my thoughts across in how irrational people are acting about this sort of thing. Without further ado, let's get into it.
So this was a diverse Manhattan jury. Why is it? Well, it was 4 people of color. That's known typically as...
I was there during jury selection.
Whether it was
black women were shut out for having unconventional hair, but there were 9 white jurors.
Sorry, is that what they said? They said it was for unconventional hair, or you're just presuming that?
It was unconventional hair.
A juror was dismissed for having unconventional hair.
Unconventional hair.
That's made up.
No, it's not.
Who said?
No, it's not.
Which lawyer said that?
The defense attorney.
Which one? He said what?
He said that she had unconventional hair because her hair was purple, that she would have unconventional thoughts. And that, were you in the courtroom?
No, I was not.
For 7 weeks?
I was not. But I understand.
I was.
But the
I
idea, right? Well, but again, the notion that she's being dismissed because of her hair. I assume you're assuming it's because of her race, right?
It absolutely was about weight.
Right.
Why was the expert jury consultant brought in who got off people for OJ, who had a racial child, who brought in Kyle Rittenhouse, a young man who bought an AR-15 and killed Americans exercising their
What does Kyle Rittenhouse have to do with this?
Because the jury expert who clearly got off Daniel Penny today, it's the jury expert. It's not the jurors, right?
The jury expert. Not the jurors, who heard the case, right?
This woman specialized for 35 years in the psychology of juries.
Right.
She specialized in race.
You know how many of those specialists lose their cases?
Well, not this.
A lot of them.
That's why Daniel Penny took the great money of people who hate black people to pay her.
So it had to have been race, right? It's not possible. So here's my theory on this, and it's actually a reverse race thing, which I think you're going to really disagree with, right? Well, I'll tell you what. I don't think this case would have been charged if it had been a white victim and a white person who had held him in a chokehold. I don't even think there'd be charges in this
I think
case.
it actually would. And I actually think that you would be calling Daniel Penny a murderer. Have you heard of Nathaniel Terry? A 27-year-old black man. He was an absolute monster in 2021. He killed an unidentified to this day homeless man in the project staircase.
I guess I'm confused. So I'm a little confused about what they expected people to do. I mean, do you just sit there and let the guy murder you? I mean, what do you do? I mean, from my understanding, this guy was terrorizing this whole subway car. Like, what should they have done? Like, held him in headlock not as long? I mean, it's confusing to me. I feel like hindsight is always 20/20. You could always Monday morning quarterback the whole thing. But I feel like all things considered, I mean, the guy, for crying out loud, was still alive after the chokehold. He did inevitably die. But I just feel like this is not rational thinking. And I need people to understand this. I don't want to live in a society where, because of black trauma that we have from the past of slavery and civil rights movement and Jim Crow and all these things, that we become immoral and then we just start wanting black people to get off for being criminals and threatening people and harming people because we don't care. No, it's revenge against the white people. I don't want to live in that world, because it's a world of chaos and pandemonium and constant lickbacks, constant clapbacks. Because if we do live in a world of black people just start getting off for committing stupid, heinous crimes, then other races are going to be mad and they're going to hate black people for that, and it's going to be more fighting forever. We need to live in an equal society where we don't always even see or even really notice the race of the individuals, because in cases like this, these deranged lunatics, it just doesn't make sense. It comes across as a person who's just a race hustling buffoon, if you want me to be entirely honest with you.
Did you see BLM come out for that type of monster? To grant our credibility.
Well,
when do we come out for cases that are not racially charged, would normally be ignored?
Why is this a race case? Did Daniel Penny say anything racist when it happened?
What is the labeling and the stereotypes? Daniel Penny, when he lied during interrogations, which no one is showing.
But answer my question. When was the race? When did he bring race into this?
A crackhead. And he said he was doing crackhead things. The problem is, Daniel Penny showed no remorse for nothing he did, and that dishonors the real service people of this country, the real Marine. I
mean, why should he be remorseful? Like, I don't think this guy did anything wrong. So what should he be? I mean, it's sad that the guy died, but besides that, and if you're kind of like defending yourself, I'm not really going to feel super bad if I'm defending myself and somebody dies because I'm defending myself.
Who don't lie, who care for others, and who do no harm.
So do you not blame Jordan Neely at all? I mean, for what he did? He deserves no blame from your perspective, right?
Did you hear the witness testimony?
I'm asking you a question.
Or are you cherry-picking the ones?
I'm asking you a question. Do you blame Jordan Neely at all for his conduct?
If Jordan Neely was a white man, we'd be saying it was an opioid crisis. He was hungry. He was mentally ill. He had a muffin in his pocket.
I wouldn't be if there were other. What about the witnesses? Let's play again, just so we're clear on the race.
Play Eddie Gibson, who begged Daniel Neely to stop.
Oh, yeah, but he stayed there throughout the incident.
Play the ones that fit the narrative.
But what's the narrative? There's black women who were on the subway. It was mostly people of color on the subway.
What about a white man during cross-examination who said that he was afraid of Daniel Penny, the one who poured water onto his head and said that he was afraid? He was a white man.
Yeah, okay. So,
what about the Latino man who was holding his arms?
I'm not the one identifying everyone by race. You are. You're the one who keeps telling. Why? Why do you have to? There was nothing in this case.
Because when you look at the FBI, when you look at when hate crimes happen, when you look at when injustice happened to black people,
but let's agree.
Don't get justice.
Let's agree to some. Look, I'm going to be doing a segment later this week on a missing black woman who has not been getting nearly enough attention.
Send it to me and I'll share the post.
By the media.
Absolutely.
Because I understand that, and to that degree, you have a fair point about the way sometimes the media and the justice system handles. But not in this case. This case, even the prosecutors conceded Daniel Penny had every right to go hands-on, and the question became, okay, when should he have stopped? I understand that.
The time frame on that
from
the DA's office was after 30 seconds. Can you not concede that Daniel Penny was a trained killer, that he not have his gray belt? United States Marine Corps isn't an assassin?
Sure, but
he knew. Let me finish.
Every Marine is a trained
because
assassin.
Actually, black Marines and white Marines have reached out and actually told us he went too far.
But going too far is different from criminal.
Let me break it down.
Like, guys, I don't think that when somebody holds somebody in the headlock, even a tight chokehold, that they know, oh, this person is just gonna die right after this. Like, I don't think that everybody thinks that. For example, he could have held him in a chokehold until he made sure that he died, and it just wring the life straight from him if he really wanted to. Once the situation was de-escalated, that was it. And after that, the dude unfortunately passed away after that. But I mean, at some point you had to stop this man from hurting other people, which again, I don't mind, and it doesn't sound like people on the subway minded either.
Chokehold, a blood chokehold, which he did. You're only supposed to hold someone in that move for 8 to 13 seconds. Yeah. You're not supposed to do it longer than 2 minutes. Why did Daniel Penny, when the train was completely clear, everyone was on the platform, why did he hold it for nearly 6 minutes?
Because he was scared.
He was a Marine is scared of of someone he labeled as a crackhead.
Again, is it not possible that Daniel Penny, when he's doing this on the spot, stepping up to help people of many different races, moves in and doesn't have a clock with him to decide when he should stop and when he shouldn't, which is why in the end the jury acquitted, right?
No, actually, Daniel Penny was trained very well by the United States Marine Corps, and he knew what the signs were. He knew when Jordan's body was slacking. He knew that Jordan was going to die. Why didn't you show his face, Dan? You're a good man. Of when he laughed and when the first response, I'm critical of the police. We know this, right? NYPD tried to save his life while they were doing chest compressions. Daniel Penny laughed and said chest compression. A good person, a hero. One last thing. Why did he never ask about the well-being in that police department about Jordan Neely?
So you're asking,
he was a hero.
You're asking a lot of questions that are sort of rhetorical questions, right? But the ultimate question is, why did the jury acquit? Is it because they're racist?
America is inherently biased.
So the jury is racist.
Have you seen?
I'm asking you a question. No, don't change the subject. Is it because the jury is racist?
Yes.
Okay. Well, guys, there it is. Apparently, it's all because of racism and white supremacy. Even though there was black people and other people of color on the jury, they were racist. Apparently, this is just silly. I'm going to read a couple comments here. Of course, it's a race case. If Penny weren't white, he wouldn't be indicted and prosecuted. Absolutely not. He wouldn't have. This was definitely a case that was brought because they knew if they didn't do anything, they wouldn't have anything to race hustle off of, which of course they always want to do. Somebody says, Andre Zachary said, I miss my son. The father who abandoned his son, Jordan Neely, at 2 years old, let him be raised by the foster system and had no contact with him for years, but somehow showed up at the trial because he thought he'd found himself a ghetto lottery ticket. Abso-freaking-lutely. You miss your son, but where were you on that day? Democrats, meet the intellectually deficient, perpetual victim, and race-obsessed monster you have created. You broke it. You own it. Another one that I thought was great, so I agree with that one. Another one I thought was great. The black jurors are racist against blacks. This is why no one takes leftists seriously. Virtually all of their positions are unserious and based off nothing more than misguided emotion. Abso-freaking-lutely. And that's one of the reasons why it really almost felt like, why even bother doing this video? It's foolishness. Like, why even bother talking about this? This should have never happened to begin with. I mean, it does coincide with the channel, but like sometimes you get tired of these freaking crybabies. Okay, like these people want to cry racism. It reminds me of the freaking boy who cried wolf, guys. Like, it's the same type of logic. It's like, really, it's racism again, and now all of a sudden when real racism occurs, nobody cares anymore because of stuff like this. Calling everything racist all the time, being extremely hyperbolic, extremely dramatic, being little drama kings and queens is overplayed. The race card has been overplayed. And now a lot of the black community have no more hands to play. They have no cards to play. And you lose the game by default, guys. Okay, so you got to try something else. Okay, the race card doesn't work here. There are real instances of it occurring. This clearly isn't one of them, so I agree with Dan here, Dan Abrams here. But those are just my thoughts, guys. What a waste of the court system's time. I hope that they stop having these politically charged, like it's good for some people politically and good for the race hustlers cases, because I'm really tired of these people freaking out, calling them modern day lynchings and like putting shame to what an actual lynching is. People used to be hung and shot at and spit on and have stuff thrown at them, and people used to be fed to dogs and all kinds of stuff. And then you got a guy who is threatening to kill people, but we're trying to call this a modern day lynching and act like it's about racism and white supremacy. Foolishness, guys. Foolishness. Those are just my thoughts. And let me know what you guys think. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I appreciate y'all watching the Black Anomaly Rising channel. I'm out.
Because they want to spare a white man the penalty of his crimes. America has not changed, and I hate to say it, it may never change. And people who keep asking, are we going to riot? Are we going to protest? Is that what's needed? Do glass have to break? Do cars have to burn for a black man to get justice in America?
Shut the fuck up! Let me get that written email. Contradicted herself like 4 times, man.